Ex-vegans, why did you start eating meat again? Part 2. Not me, but my brother-in-law went vegan for a stretch. One of his pet causes is donating blood. As soon as he's able to, he's down at the blood clinic donating again. Anyway, on a vegan diet, his blood iron levels got too low to donate blood. So it was back to meat for him. But his daughter, my niece, is still vegan, and it's driving them nuts, because she'll only eat those vegan chicken nuggets, and they're getting pricey. That's funny because the last time I tried to donate before going vegan, my iron U was slightly too low. But after going vegan, my iron U was well above the threshold for donating. That's because I learned more about nutrition when going vegan and know what I need to eat. It's very passive, though. In Sweden we get iron supplements when we give blood. I thought everyone gets that. I became vegetarian specifically to fuel an active eating disorder. When I got on the path to recovery, I started eating meat again. This is a big reason that my GF and I stick to talking about going flexitarian or similar, rather than committing to any hard and fast rules of any sort. Restrictive diets are pure fuel for eating disorders, and both of us have suffered in one way or another from them. I hope your recovery is going super well. Oh hey, me too. People didn't realize that was why I became vegetarian, and I didn't tell them because it seemed like none of their business. When I went back to being an omnivore, some people judged me for it and commented that I was going to be less healthy. It was great being led to realize I was fucking starving myself because of a mental illness, right? Reading this is making me question if this is why my partner is vegetarian, because I'm aware of her eating disorder and she started being vegetarian before her eating disorder started. I tried to be vegetarian for the environment, but it made my eating disorder worse, so I had to stop. I might try again after I recover, but for now it's better for me to eat meat. I wanted to see if it made me sick. I've since eaten it here and there, but it's not often. I was vegan, food and otherwise, for near a decade. I'm planning on going back because I can honestly say that I've not been missing out. It's possible to veganize about anything these days. Oh, also. No, it didn't make me sick at all. I'm a vegetarian and every now and then I wonder if I just decided to get a burger would I vomit or shit my brains out? Or have I just worked myself up to believe I'll get sick? The not missing anything is how I ended up being vegetarian in the first place. At first I just wanted to reduce my meat consumption. Then over time I just stopped needing it or wanting it. Made it pretty easy. I became homeless and couldn't afford to be picky about my food. My life is stable now finance-wise and I now eat a balanced diet with meat, try to eat a lot of veggies, and I sometimes eat fast food and candy, which I didn't do when I was vegan. Reason I became vegan was I thought meat is gross, and I still think it is, so I still don't eat it too excessively. I wonder a lot how I would end up eating if I became homeless. I went vegetarian because I dislike meat too, mostly because my mom wasn't an awesome cook. Stopped because I was being lazy and not eating right. I still tend to stick with vegetarian dishes in restaurants just because I don't think they'll cook the meat right. I was vegan for 3 years and had gone home to my community, which is tremendously poor. To have cold cuts and a bag of Doritos is a luxury. My aunt, who was going blind, made a family feast and everyone came, and she made a very traditional lamb stew. My heart broke when I thought of how much of her income she must have spent to make this possible and felt like a completely entitled outsider when I told them I was vegan. They couldn't comprehend, when food is so hard to come by, why anyone would choose to not eat any protein available to keep from being hungry. Being vegan comes from a first world position of entitlement. It is a luxury to choose what you eat when so many eat whatever is available, not out of an ethical decision, but out of necessity. Did you eat the lamb stew anyway? I totally understand you ethically don't think eating animals is right, but I can tell from your post you also very much care for your family's feelings. It must have been a difficult, conflicting situation for you. I didn't eat it. Not then. I wish I would have. It was the internal conflict once I came home. I am ashamed and disappointed that I let the opinion of a community that has no concept of the poverty I come from shape my opinion of what culturally was right. I think you were in a difficult situation, and whilst in balance, eating it would have been the least bad option. I don't blame you for not. I think the fact you regret not eating it shows you are a good person, though if that counts for anything. This is coming from a non-vegan for clarity. A friend had to abandon it when they finally got treatment for their eating disorder. They were already malnourished, and 15 years ago in the Midwest there weren't a lot of good vegan options around. Their therapist also kind of insisted, because it was somewhat being used as an excuse to not eat or not eat anything substantial. Over time they just transitioned back into eating a normal, non-vegan/non-vegetarian diet. Now it's kind of a mindfuck that they can go just about any fast food restaurant and get Beyond or Impossible. Various nut and soy milk is sold everywhere groceries are available, including some well-stocked gas stations, and no one looks at you funny if you ask about the ingredients in a dish. I lost a lot of weight, to the point that people asked if I was okay. I was tired and had low energy. I ended up being anemic. I slowly ended up getting to a point that I started eating meat again. Your experience certainly reflects mine. Fairly stupid reason, because I broke up with my example. I became a vegan to support her, and it felt weird eating meat while she was so against it. When the relation was over, however, I no longer felt the need to support my ex in that way. Thus meat was back on the menu, boys. Hair loss and health issues got worse. I'm fine now. I was vegan for a year due to wanting to eat clean and it backfired. I divorced my vegan wife. I had been vegetarian for 10 years. I became pregnant and was concerned that my baby wouldn't get all the nutrients she needed to develop in a healthy way. I still don't eat meat very often, and honestly the alternatives have come such a long way from when I tried my first veggie burger 20 years ago. The dairy substitutes have come so far as well. I remember when there were only 2 non-dairy ice creams that tasted like cardboard. Strangely, the inverse happened for me. I'm not a vegetarian, but after becoming pregnant I didn't want meat at all. It didn't make me sick, I just never wanted it. I was all about fruit and veg, but couldn't make myself eat steak or chicken. I was also never nauseous during my pregnancy, and kiddo was perfectly healthy and 2 days late. He came in at a perfectly normal 6 pounds 12 ounces. Go figure. I went from fat to extremely skinny, and I hadn't strength. I wanted to have bigger muscles, so I started eating protein from veggies. It wasn't enough, I needed a lot per day to increase my muscles, so I started eating 2 eggs every day. And now, I eat 200 grams of meat 2 days a week just for easy protein. I still eat fruits and vegetables every day, I love it. The eggs and meat are just because I want muscles low. Vegan for a year. Mom made the special ham recipe my great-grandmother used to make when she was still with us. Took a bite to taste. Ate the whole thing and said fuck that. And to everybody saying veganism made them weak and exhausted, go get checked for nutrient deficit. I was vegan for an entire year and it never had any issue health-wise. Blood tests were all good. Yes, I was taking B12 and omega-3 supplements. Also remember that everyone's body processes vitamins and nutrients differently. I was a veg for 10 years and was very healthy. My cousin did it for 6 months and was so anemic she needed iron transfusions, no matter how many high iron veggies or oral iron supplements she took. Definitely vegan for 6 years in like 15 days, and I'd never had a deficiency or broken a bone. I hadn't eaten meat in a year and a half in college. One day I was together and looked out the window and saw McDonald's having a sale on Big Macs for 69 cents. I ate 5, puked, and never looked back.